My name is Thomas Sweetman. I lead PA's public sector innovation and frontier technology adoption business. So we help clients solve big strategic challenges of the day, like net zero transition, building housing infrastructure, safer streets, care technology, by unlocking the adoption of what we call frontier technologies. So we're talking AI, quantum, semiconductors, telecoms. And all of this is with a view to solving real world challenges. So as an example, we are working closely with the UK government on securing our critical national infrastructure, say roads, railways, energy networks, water networks, and defence infrastructure from cyber attacks that address a particular vulnerability in how all our chipsets are designed. The UK has invested significantly in a technology that addresses that called Cherry, which is a particular chipset design, and we have a number of UK companies ready to go. But what they're not seeing is the pickup and adoption from the market at the pace required to safeguard the UK. We've been commissioned by the UK government to address that, so we've mapped the potential entry points across the industry. We've mapped that path to scale, we've aggregated demand, and we're bringing together everyone from major defence infrastructure providers to asset owners like in the energy sector to telecoms providers, all of them to pull together their funds and accelerate the adoption of these technologies into market, with the direct result of helping secure the UK over the next 4 years, but also driving massive growth and revenue for UK companies and giving us a lead in the semiconductor supply chain that's crucial for our sovereign capabilities in the year ahead. When you look at the ingredients for successful innovation, and we've done a lot of the research with government on what that is, you've got three things. You've got inspirational, ambition and challenges, and PA, our goal is create a positive human future, change the world for the better. And radical inclusivity, we've got everyone from strategists to logistics experts to quantum technologists to digital experts to human behavioural psychologists and so forth, which gives you that breadth of expertise to tackle any of these challenges, all of which sit at the intersection of the usual silos that prevent progress. So, and I suppose the last bit, and I say this as a kind of entrepreneur in former life and to a degree now, is on its own that isn't enough. You need a certain degree of grit, determination, we call it ingenuity, but I like to think of it as that perseverance required to push through difficult challenges, because if you're going to try and go to the moon, it's not easy. It didn't happen over a day, it happened over 10 years, and that involved people getting up every day, going to work, working through the bureaucracy, solving technical challenges, and that's what we do. So that fundamentally, I think, is what sets us apart. I'm a great believer when we talk about innovation, we define it as ideas successfully applied. And that can be both human and technological. So in the technology space, I always come back to the standout work done in care technology by our Identity team in being foremost in introducing new forms of technology into social care in a way that massively improved the outcomes of the service users. This isn't applying shiny AI to shiny business problems. This is about applying critical technology to problems that really matter for people and have a human outcome. And I think the work there, which started well over 10 years ago and continues to be at the forefront, is really inspirational. I think as well, we can't ignore that when we look at successful adoption of new technologies, that culture is the number one factor between success and failure. We actually just did the survey on behalf of the UK government for diffusion adoption of technology across the UK business landscape, 4,000 businesses, and leadership management, people culture came ahead of everything else. Now the challenge with culture is it's a very easy idea for us to talk about, to sell, but having sat on the industry side, it's quite hard to buy. It's quite hard to secure invest in people over platforms and technologies, despite the fact that they are what drives value. So one of the things we've been doing recently is applying AI to rapidly assess an organisation's compliance with emerging innovation standards. Because by tying behaviours and culture, which is process plus behaviours, to a number, we're finally able to make the case alongside our clients, to investors, to the board, to invest in their people systematically. And by using AI, we're able to rapidly diagnose the current state, but also track the impact of what we're doing on the behaviours of people in the workforce, to address issues of inclusion, to look around behaviours around psychological safety. All of that, I think, is a neat example of applying technology to caring for people, but then also to empowering people as well. As a global business, we're privileged to work with clients all around the world, and what's really interesting is that although individual circumstances vary, that there are common trends, and all of them point to humanity is trying to operate at a scale, a complexity, and for a quality of life across its populations that has never been attempted before. And actually, what we're increasingly seeing in almost every field of human endeavour, whether it's health, whether it's education, welfare, security, is the current ways of working and organising ourselves and the current tools are running out of road. And that's reflected in increased political churn in the West, it's reflected in increased upheaval more broadly. In a lot of the markets that we spend our time in, and a lot of the clients we spend our time in, they're always asking, how do we adopt these new technologies? How do we know that there are great advances possible for things like AI, but what does that mean? What is the value we're going to get? Where do we start? How do we do it? How are we going to pay for it? So one of the things that we like to do with clients at the moment, and taking AI as an example, is think about, well, what is that ultimate outcome it's going to enable? Put the technology aside, give the example in the nuclear space, navigating the complex bureaucracy and regulations is crucial, whether it's for reducing the £50 billion decommissioning bill or accelerating the adoption of new nuclear reactor designs that are safer, which are lower carbon, which address a number of our kind of national security issues and support economic growth. So starting with that outcome, thinking about let's be radically inclusive, going back to how PA works. Let's think about everyone involved in solving that at scale. Let's get people from not just the labs, but finance, logistics, commercial. Bring people into the tent as soon as you can to think about what is that pathway to scale? How do we collectively work together? We're doing a lot of work with in the energy infrastructure space about bringing communities on board with the net zero transition. So understanding people's sentiments, and this is where AI has that accelerating factor. Using AI, we can take thousands of pages of nuclear regulations and do what would have taken months in seconds, in terms of thinking about what do these mean for these communities? What does this mean when we're changing this design? What does this mean when we're looking to deploy this technology in a new area? We can accelerate that pathway from years and months to days. In the same way, we can use AI to help individuals, and people should remember it's individuals, it's people at the end of these chains in companies and government, engage with communities at a scale and a pace they can't already do, to make sure that we're not missing out voices because they're drowned in the noise, that we're being suitably inclusive of everyone's viewpoints, that we're giving equal weight, and to do so at a pace that's commensurate with the urgency of the task, whether it's net zero, whether it's safer streets, whether it's deciding where healthcare services need to be invested in the future. So all of those are examples, I think, by working with our clients, understanding the ambition that they have and helping them frame that in a way that then allows us to bring the right people in from within and across the firm, and then going back to that final point, be relentless in pursuit of that ambition.